Well, hey everybody, Wes McDonald here for another episode of Level Up. And as always, I'm here with a good friend, Kenneth Edmonds. How are you, Ken?
I am fine. Life is good. On my way to my new home in Florida.
Yeah. And, although you're my favorite, sort of co host, I got to say I'm actually more excited that Brandy Reed is here today.
Hi,
And
guys.
Brandy is from Chartech. Thanks for joining us, Brandy.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And she definitely levels up the appearance of the show and probably the intellect of the show as well.
Well, I know the intellect for sure because I've had an interview with her. And Brandy, I'll show you one of the tricks we can do with Ken is that we can actually get rid of him.
So, boy.
You like that? I haven't done that in a while. Oh, it's pretty good.
I can. That's my dad's name, by the way.
Well, but see, now I have the power as well, so we can just make West disappear.
Oh, wow. West went west.
Oh, that's how this day is going to go. Brandy, really appreciate it and for coming in. And for everyone that's tuned in today, we're going to be talking about social lead generation and social selling. And that's obviously something that is near and dear to my heart. That's something I've believed in for a long time. Ken and I both have been prolific users of particularly the LinkedIn platform to work and engage with our partners and our customers. And we know that it's powerful. And I had an opportunity to actually see you present at CompTIA ChannelCon. And it blew me away because I thought, well, I'll probably learn one or two things. And I spent the whole time feverishly taking notes. So it was, really great. And I thought after that, we've got to get you on as a guest, right?
Thank you.
So for anyone that's out there, just remember, we'd love to hear your questions and comments. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, just post a comment as you usually would. And Ken, I know you've said this before, but even if they're not watching live, can they still post their comments?
They can still post their comments. We'll still respond to them no matter when they see the content.
Yeah. So if you're watching us live or not, just pretend you're watching live and ask those questions and comments, and we'll make sure that we get back to you. So here's a fun one. This one should actually be interesting today. And if Brandy is where I think she is, it'll be interesting. We generally have people come in from all over the world. We have regulars from the UAE. We have people that come in from Australia, from the United States. I'm obviously in Canada. So maybe, Brandy, we'll get people started with where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I live here now. I moved here 2 years ago from Bakersfield, California. But I'm originally from San Diego. So
wow.
All over the place.
Yeah, both great places. I actually hosted an event in San Diego. It was a top 100 event for the Office Equipment Channel many years ago. And I love San Diego. It's just such a beautiful city. And then to be able to get up to La Jolla. But, where you are now, I think is definitely trumps that.
It's a dream. Every time I wake up, I look outside and I'm like, wow. So I'm very blessed to be here.
Well, and it's one of those topics too. And today's not, we're not talking about remote work, but certainly we can. Is that this power that we have now to be able to do what we do from pretty much anywhere, right? So, and
Kenneth, one of the positives of post-COVID,
right? Yeah. If there are silver linings, I had an interview with a guest a couple weeks ago, and he almost felt bad about saying it, right? If there's any silver linings to this whole, pandemic, and it's like, well, I would certainly say that the advances of how we can do this together, certainly that's something, right? We got to take what we can get.
And a lot of people got to adopt dogs finally because they were working from home. That's another positive.
Yeah, and with any luck, I think I can see one of mine actually moving back there, but hopefully they'll behave themselves. So for anyone that's out there, let us know where you're watching from. And Ken, what about you? Where are you today?
I am in a hotel in Savannah, Georgia, on my way to Florida.
That's right. Down to the new home?
Down to the new home, yes.
Yeah, Brandy, one of the things you won't know about Ken yet is that he's a prolific traveler. And he actually has a program in which he does cruise episodes showing different cruise ship locations, particularly for those with more mobility challenges. So he's got
very cool. Well, we get lots of cruise ships here in Cabo San Lucas. I see sometimes up to 4 at a time outside my window. So have you ever been here to do that?
Actually, I was there in March in Cabo. I was trying to get over and take a look at some of the AI resorts, but there was an accident on the road, and I talked to my taxi driver, and he was like, I don't think that would be a good decision today. because it was a fairly short port call, and he said getting from the port area to where the timeshares are can be, or not timeshares, but the resorts can be a challenge.
Oh, I think I remember that one too. blocked a lot of roads, and people missed lots of flights that day.
Yeah, I think Ken, you just explained first world problems like in a nutshell, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. And Greg Walters has joined us in, so love to hear where you're watching in from today, Greg. So thanks for tuning in. And for everyone else, don't forget, we also want your questions and comments. Join the conversation. We do have an expert on marketing here today, and I'm sure that you can have questions for your business that she'll be able to answer. And let us know where you're watching from. And, Brandy, maybe one of the first things I'll start with, like we're actually on a social channel right now, LinkedIn Live, right? So I'm wondering if you can, share with us when it comes to social marketing, maybe give us a description, first of all, of what you think that is, and then maybe what some of the best channels are and why.
Yeah, so having a lot of experience with different social media platforms, ranging from B2B, ranging from B2C, and then even going to asking for money for nothing, running a nonprofit organization, asking for money, and then having a business and selling actual products. And then now marketing from services. There's different platforms that serve certain purposes in the industry that you're in. So it's really important that you understand that and understand where your audience is at in order to do that. So in this case, with the IT services industry, I often see that we get the most generated leads through LinkedIn, Google Business, and also Facebook, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I think that's an important one to talk about, right? So maybe talk a little about Google Business, because I think a lot of folks are probably familiar with LinkedIn as a platform, but perhaps maybe in sort of the services technology world, they're not as familiar, with Google Business. So maybe talk about that a little.
Yeah, so Google Business Profile, and mind you, they've changed their name several times, and they'll probably change it again. So just keep watch. If you don't have a Google Business Profile, you definitely need to get one, because 50% of Google Business Profile visitors lead to website visitors, and 97% of users learn about you online. And so just think about this. If you have 64% of those consumers who have used Google, the conversion rate averages around 5%. So you're missing out on a lot of potential leads and conversions if you don't have a Google Business Profile.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, the last time we spoke and mentioned that my wife's a retailer, and, she's made really good use of that, obviously for herself as a retailer. But when I think about it, anytime I search for anything now, that's one of the first things that will come up in the Google rankings. And they're getting to the point now where they're actually localizing those results, right? So they're saying, oh, who's closer, and then you can start to see, different things that way. So extremely powerful, right?
Very powerful. And it's important to understand what you need to do besides just starting a Google Business Profile. There's a lot more involved in optimization and making sure you're consistently posting your events on there. So just starting one, it isn't going to do you that much good. So it's consistently using it.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? And that's, one of the things that Ken and I do, like we obviously have this live stream every week, and I also write blogs, and I make sure that I have a blog every week, or whatever that cadence is, as long as that there is that regular input, and that it's just as important to do that on, anything that you have online, I guess is what you're saying, right?
Yes, optimization is important. Optimization and consistency is important with all of the platforms that you use.
That's great. And you mentioned Facebook as well. So what kind of things can, tech providers use Facebook for?
Facebook is great for brand awareness, but it's important to stay consistent with your brand. So not, in other words, not posting images and information that's kind of all over the board. You want them to consistently recognize you. So it's kind of like, if you've ever seen that movie Inception,
Yep.
It's like you're doing that. You're consistently plugging in your information and your logo and your colors. And even if somebody doesn't end up using your services, they recognize you. And so they're able to refer your services to somebody else. Additionally, they have a really mean retargeting tool. So if you are getting those visits and they dropping off, well, you can retarget them to bring them back.
Yeah, I love that. Go ahead, Ken.
A couple of things that you just said I want to speak to, because I love what you said about consistency. And one of the first books that I read when I started my business 30 years ago was Guerrilla Marketing, and J. Conrad Levinson made the point that your message needs to be consistent, because if people see one perspective and then they say a different one, it's like different businesses. Whereas if the message is the same over and over and over again, then it really escalates where you are in their mind, as far as being top of mind, I guess is the best way to say it. The other thing that I love, you talked about retargeting Facebook. For a while I had a podcast on my YouTube channel, and I talked with a gentleman. He talked about the power of Facebook for marketing and the precision that you can get with it. That we talked about it, like it's kind of like being able to carpet bomb a business. You put a pin in their address, and then you market to just a very small circle around there, so that you get, for the dollar, you get a lot of awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is if you're already doing some email marketing and you have a list to go by, you can certainly import that list into these tools, and then the algorithm recognizes who you're looking for based off that list, and then start targeting people that match that criteria.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm thinking about there is that you mentioned I think it was 97% of people find us online now, right? And to make sure that as many of those channels as possible that we're available to see. And I think too, I mean, we forget sometimes that when we talk about branding and brand recognition, how important that is, I think, for I guess what I would call like inbound marketing, right? Where we're actually trying to draw them into us as opposed to a direct sale. And the number of times that I've heard from people when Ken and I were doing the training, didn't realize that they were getting any value out of it. And they said, hey, love your 10-day program that you guys did. We've actually watched it with our sales staff and everything else. And you don't even know that until they bring it up, and then they come back to you for something else, right? And that cycle could be a month, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, but I think so important, right?
Exactly. And it does take, you have to, once you start marketing, it's not something that you can sporadically do. You have to stay in it and stay consistent with it. Otherwise, things just drop off, like you said.
Yes. And it looks like Greg Walters has a question for you. Do you see a difference in social media platform usage based on business size?
I would say no, because a lot of our clients that we market for range between a really small business. They could be a two-man show up to, we've got some that have 20 to 30 employees that we do their marketing for. So again, it's all about the audience that you're going after. So if you are if you're selling products, and I would say that would be more of an Instagram and TikTok kind of place.
Yep.
And if you're selling services, then go to LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook's great for products too, but Facebook again is good for brand awareness and retargeting.
Yeah, I think so. And it is funny. I watched some of that actually. I managed the social media profile for my wife's business, and it does broadcast both on Instagram and Facebook, because obviously they're the same company. And the results on Instagram, though, I will say, are definitely higher, like as far as brand recognition, but where most of the requests for more information have come from for purchasing has been Facebook. It's weird, right? Like to think that, one would be stronger than the other, but, there you have it.
Yeah, just think about your feed. When you're looking at your feed, you're seeing all of these ads pop up, with businesses selling their product or services.
Oh, and looks like we have someone saying, FYI, I can see you on Facebook, but not on LinkedIn. Yeah, so apologize for that. Sometimes that does happen. I know that Greg Walters joined us. You'll have fun with this, Brandy. Greg Walters actually joins us both from here on LinkedIn and also from YouTube. So he's got both social channels going as he's watching here today.
I see that. That's cool.
Yeah, and sometimes that's funny. It does happen. We've had that happen before. People have said, "Yeah, I can find you on one platform or the other." So I don't know.
I saw the error message just a second after he posted that and fixed that. So we should be live on LinkedIn as well.
All right, there you go. Appreciate that.
Oh, technology. Gotta love it.
Yeah, you got to keep up with it. And so now I'm going to kind of move into an area which I think is fun because you've been doing this for obviously a lot of years, and you run a pretty strong marketing group. And maybe it's a fair question, maybe it's not, because obviously three is a pretty small number, right? But if you had the like top three things maybe that you would suggest to people or tips, to help them get started and to have some consistency, what would that be?
That's a really good question. So there are many tips when it comes to social media, but I would say from the top to work your way into what you need to do and not feel so overwhelmed. The first thing is I think you should define your goals on what that is going to be. So if it's going to be brand awareness, if it's going to be lead generation, if it's going to be just putting out educational content, understanding what that is exactly so that you know what platforms you're going to want to utilize. And then once you decide on those platforms, then you need to decide how consistent you can stay with your posting. Give yourself a goal and break down that goal. Because if you think too big and you're going to say, I'm going to post every day, and you're only going to let yourself down. So you understand you got to do with what you can do within your own resources, or outsource it if that's going to be the case. And then also make sure that you're posting relevant content that's relevant to your audience and, of course, from your brand. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to be all over the place. And it's important that that they're consistently seeing what you want. Those people who are interested in what you have to put out there, and those are the ones that are going to end up converting.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, I really do think that that message of consistency and knowing what your goal is, right? Because I think sometimes when we do these things that we think the only currency is cash, right? It's like the objective of this is to get this many direct leads, and then it's like, hold on, wait a minute. What if the goal that we set is actually education? Is one of those things that you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we have these different currencies and these different yardsticks for success, depending on how we're using it, what we're using it for.
Right, and that creates credibility, and that's one of the challenges that a lot of service providers have is that their ability to get out there and just educate. We're everyone is so used to this solution-based selling method that they forget that they need to actually give something really important instead of just throwing out how great they are.
Yeah, that's one of those things.
Great, we know this.
Yeah, Ken and I are both in an agreement that it's this educational content, right? And that's one of the reasons we have this program, is to be able to help people to to level up their businesses, right? To be able to bring folks in like you to help them to discover things that they wouldn't be able to to know on their own. And I think that's so important, giving back, because once you do, then when you ask for something later on, I think people are more prone to listen to what you're asking for, right? It's like, I've gotten a lot from you, so if you need something now, let me understand what that is and see what we can do, right?
Absolutely.
And MD, thanks for joining us today, and absolutely glad to have Brenda here sharing with you today as well. And for everyone else out there, just remember, we love your questions and comments. So if you have anything you'd like to say, ask a question. And Ken, we always invite this too. Any negative stuff, like saying I don't agree with that, or whatever, I've got a better way to do it. Well, all voices are welcome here. So anything that you want to throw out there, please do. And also, if you're joining in, like MD, you can let us know where you're watching from. That's always fun for us to see which parts of the world people are coming in from, right?
Yes, I was going to say, and I am really good at stirring up the pot sometimes, and I get some people that do not necessarily agree with me, but that's okay, because it's the discussion is where we learn. I think that is one of the things that people don't think about is it's this interchange of experience and information that helps all of us level up. Again, that's why we do what we do. So we love the chance to learn from people like Brandy, for example.
Yes. And thanks for joining us from Bangladesh. Sorry, Brandy, go ahead.
Bangladesh, that's wow. Thank you. I know that's a long ways away. What time is it over there?
I know.
I would have to agree, Ken, because the thing is in marketing is it's ever changing and ever growing, and you never stop learning. So if you run into somebody who says they know it all, they don't. I don't. I'm always learning from so many other people, and it's important that you have that mentality, especially when it comes to marketing, because it's never consistent.
Yeah, and I think people forget that sometimes about what happens in the marketing world, right? Is that we're just as hungry for education as we are for giving what we know, right? Because we become so much more valuable as we learn more and can deliver more, right? So I love how you put some
Well, and
emphasis.
that's one of the things that we practice within our own marketing plan is when we get a client that signs on, we specifically tell them, depending on the lead magnet we're putting out there, it depends on what's trending, what people are into at this moment. Are they, we look at the numbers, and are people more into webinars right now? Are they more into downloading ebooks? So, we want to make sure that we're putting out what people are wanting to receive.
I love it. And I think that's important too. You're just talking about sort of like, mixes of how we deliver, content, right? So if it's a webinar, a live stream, an ebook, or a blog. And I'm just curious if you're seeing a lot more use of video in the space. Is that starting to pick up with people?
Video is, I've been preaching video for quite some time now, just because you see what's happening with social media. And just look around you. Everybody is on their phone. They are looking at their phone, whether they're watching something, they're learning something, they're killing time. They are on their phone consistently. And so video marketing is very, very important when it comes to you and your brand. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead, Ken. Don't want to cut you off.
Okay, yeah. I can't go that long with being quiet. You know me. Actually, one of the things that you brought up about the about video and what started it, and this is one of the things that I suggest. I teach service management in the office equipment business, and one of the things I tell my service managers to think about doing is if a customer sends them a testimonial saying, "Hey, your tech did a great job," to try to get them on a Zoom call to make that a video so that they can then have the person talking about how the tech made them feel and solved their problem in their own words. Because to me, that is such a powerful piece of content that can be shared. It can be shared on LinkedIn. It can go on the website. So many ways you can use that information. What is your thought on that?
I 100% agree. One of the challenges they might run into, which happens over here, is some people are afraid to be on camera. So what I like to do is I actually would just get a recording of the audio and then create a video out of it. And it could be just their picture, it could be some running pictures of their business, and our team with their audio over the, like a voiceover, so to speak. Or you can caption it and caption the video with the nice things they said about you. And what's great about captions for any video is that actually Google will recognize those captions. And as people are searching for those keywords that are actually included in those captions, they will be able to search you that way too.
Very nice.
Yeah, isn't that cool? So using caption stuff to actually generate more ways for Google to put you up in the ranking, right?
Exactly.
And
on YouTube, and if you're loading videos in the YouTube, I highly recommend captions as well.
Okay. And a quick question. This one's just a personal one because I've been actually thinking about it lately. But what about transcripts? Do those help as well?
Transcripts will do help as well. Yes, Google will recognize those.
Okay. And thank you for that. That was just a personal one because I've been thinking about that with some of the videos and stuff to be able to, get some additional, things out there, right?
Yep. Yeah. And we use, and there's a service that's very inexpensive, and I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but we use rev.com for that service. I know we don't get any money from them, but
yeah.
But I love Rev. It's very easy, and they're fast, and they're inexpensive.
Yeah, and I think they have different levels, right? So you can say, hey, look, if you want it sort of AI generated, here's one price, and then if you want a person to actually go through it, then here's the other price. But still, it was really, I couldn't believe how inexpensive it was per minute, like negligible, right? So
yeah, and it's pretty on point. Going back and rereading it, there's not very many edits you need to make.
Yeah, I always do get a kick out of going through sort of the auto-generated, text that does go on the screen, because obviously words that sound like other words, and it's comedic sometimes what it thinks you're actually what you're actually saying.
And one other thing that you could do, so if somebody does submit a testimonial, Sometimes what we do internally is we actually do our own voiceovers. You have two different. You can get the AI platform to do it, right? But then some of it can sound a little bit robotic at times. So if you wanted to get a little bit more an emotional touch to it, then you can just have someone internally that just has a nice voice to just record, the script, just talk it into the voiceover and then just overlay it.
Yeah, and I think you'd be surprised at how many people would actually like to do that, right? And I have done that where I've thrown it out to friends and was shocked at the number of people said that, oh yeah, I've done a couple of those before. I love doing voiceovers. You're like, okay, great. Yeah. And if you want to have some more fun, I notice like when I'm searching for things on YouTube, let's say for hi-fi stuff, right? Looking at some new speakers for my entertainment system, that a trend that I'm really seeing are the top 5 or the top 10, whatever. And they are using AI generated voices, right? Like to actually do all of the captions. And then so some of the words are completely mispronounced because the AI engine doesn't know what that word actually is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of AI, I've actually been for the last couple of weeks, I've been working on a session for our upcoming 2-day lead generation academy on how to generate leads using AI platforms. We use quite a bit of different various AI platforms. So I'm putting together on how you can generate those leads with using them for your blogs and using them for your captions and using them for your website visits and how to determine people's journeys to your website. So it's going to be pretty informative. Probably a little more overwhelming than it probably should because there's a lot of information in there. I'm overwhelmed just putting it together.
It's amazing though that we're there, right? That we're starting to see some of this. I actually wrote a blog on artificial intelligence about 2 months ago, and the blog was kind of the opposite. Like people are saying, here's how you can use AI within business. This is how it's going to change the world, but there weren't any concrete examples, right? And it was driving me crazy. And what I found was at that time, and especially even going back further, 6 months to a year ago, that it was just too expensive for small businesses to be able to sort of capitalize it on their own. That was really the problem, right? So it's exciting to hear that there are some of these things coming forward now that they can use today, right? That are affordable for for businesses. So,
and then that just related back to the IT industry. I mean, they use a lot of AI when it comes to their operational uses, and so just having that break into the marketing industry is pretty insane.
Yeah, completely agree. Now we're at that point, just being conscious of your time and being generous and being with us today, and also for everyone watching. We're getting pretty close to the top of the half hour there. And the question I asked before was hard, but maybe this one's even harder. So if you had one piece of advice for people that were looking to do a better job using social in their lead generation and selling efforts, what would that be?
Whew. Well, I would say when it comes to marketing your business and using social, my piece of advice is to do something and not do nothing. Don't sit there and think about it. You have to do something. And whether that's breaking down your goals, making one big goal and setting them down, breaking them down to smaller goals, or deciding to outsource your marketing, you got to just do something when it comes to putting your business out there. And if you do decide to outsource your marketing, make sure you're using a marketing agency that is industry specific for you. Because you do have a lot of agencies out there who kind of do marketing for everybody, and that doesn't serve you any good. So go towards an industry specific marketing company.
Well, that's great. And I really appreciate it. And I know there's a lot more you can do for folks. So I've just put your website up here, and that folks can visit you at chartech.net to learn more about your services. And how else can they find you?
Of course, on LinkedIn, and they could email me at brandy@chartech.net. Additionally, for any of your followers, Wes, I am throwing out there, if anyone decides to register for our upcoming 2-day lead generation and closing academy, our video editor will put together a 30-second video for their business for their Facebook awareness campaign.
I love that. It's an extremely generous offer. And as we were talking about video, what a great opportunity to be able to sort of dip your toe in the water and get some video to help promote your business. So you can see here, I did put the link in here, chartech.net/chartech-academy. And so you can find it there and make sure that you do mention either ourselves saying that you saw it on Level Up, and make sure you get that 30-second video. What a great offer, Brandy. I can't thank you enough for it.
No problem. And it's just it's a nominal reservation fee to attend. So you do get refunded once you arrive.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that's great. It just keeps getting better and better. Well, Brandy, thank you once again for bringing your expertise and sharing with our audience. And for everyone else that's been watching out there, thanks for tuning in. And remember, until next time, keep leveling up.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.